Hey everyone, I'm Karen Walby Solomon, and welcome to What's IGN Crushing On, IGN Africa's official entertainment podcast. I'm your host, and I'm joined as always by my producer and editor Rebecca Barches. So this is a show where we discuss all things entertainment and pop culture with a new guest every week. We bring recommendations, news, and fun facts, sometimes touching on the more serious issues surrounding these topics. Hey Rebecca, how have you been?
Hi there, long time no see. Been 2 weeks, can you believe it? Been a whole week since I saw you, 2 weeks. What was it?
Yeah, but it feels like it's been like yesterday, but also 3 months ago.
You pretty much summarized like the entire lockdown.
I was like, I read or I saw something today where they were like, how hectic is this? Like our new normal that we are like reminiscing about the first stage of lockdown.
Reminiscing.
Like, yeah, like remember we're still doing Instagram lives. Like how hectic is that?
Wow.
Like that seems so long ago.
Yeah, it does. And it was less than a year, isn't it?
Yeah.
It'll be March. March will be the anniversary. It'll be COVID's birthday in March.
I can't, like, it's like I have a journal where I'm like, where you reflect on the week. And this morning I was like, they're like, oh, what things made you unhappy this week? I'm like, I don't know. What happened this week?
Yeah.
Like,
do you mean like you've lost a sense of time, or you mean like you get through a day and then you've forgotten what you've done?
No, it's like everything is like either the same or it's like, I mean, like some sort of weird rhythm that I don't understand. Like, I'm like, oh, get up, do this, do that. And like, I mean, obviously not everything's always the same. Like sometimes I have to get groceries. Sometimes I have to do something else. But I mean,
wild.
Yeah. Ooh.
Your life is so
I mean, like,
hectic.
but it's like, sometimes I have to stay up all night writing and the next morning I sleep a little bit late. You know what I mean? But I mean, it's still like the same sort of things I'm doing all the time. So it's like, I can't differentiate between what happened this week and what happened the week before, other than the fact that if I did not have work deadlines that I have to be like, oh yeah, I did that this week. But it's just like, it's a weird time. It really is.
Yeah, and realistically, if you had to just think of how long this year has been so far, it's been 24 days into this year. It feels like 2. No?
Also feels like 50.
That's a good point. Is there anything that you stuck to for a full year? Like something that you kept up with for a full year? This year specifically? Like, did you go jogging once a week? Did you write in a journal?
None of those things. I've been doing those things, but not consistently. So like with my journal writing, it would be like, maybe once a week. Or some weeks will be every day, depending on my time.
That's good. Okay.
So now I've been looking after my nephew in the week. So, I mean, obviously, and I'm like rising up early and, depending on how early I woke up, I have to be prepared for him. So I can't be like doing other little things while I'm doing that, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I don't think there's a lot of things that I have been doing. I think reading every day is the one thing I think I've been consistent with. Not the amount, whereas some days I'll read like 3 chapters, but the next day like
that's quite good. Yeah, that's something. I count that as something. Well done. That's a whole year of
and that's the one thing that I've been doing consistently. But and you?
I actually just used this opportunity to, I needed to just tell you that I'm on day 300
of Duolingo.
6 of Duolingo.
Yeah, I knew it. I'm like, this girl just wants to talk about Duolingo.
If you want to follow me on Duolingo, just listen to the end of the episode where I'll give you my details. But yeah, that is like the one thing that I cannot lose, because otherwise I will feel as though I have achieved absolutely nothing this past year. But yeah.
I think I went up to like 100 days streak in Duolingo and then I just lost it. And then I just...
You mean you're mentally or the streak?
Both.
Okay.
Okay, wait. Let's get on to what this week is about, or what
Indeed.
this episode is about.
Mm-hmm.
So this week's guest, we have award-winning filmmaker Amy Jephta. So Amy is the writer of the film Ellen, the Ellen Paki story. She's the showrunner of the upcoming Max original series Skemer Dance, and the director of the upcoming film Barakat. I've been a fan of Amy for a while. Like you know, I love a good written script, and if it's scripted in Afrikaans and I'm still hooked and I'm still crying, then you know it's really good. And when I watched Ellen, I was flabbergasted. And then I watched a short film, Soldat, which is on Showmax. And she writes with so much emotion, and just everything about her writing is so authentic that I was very interested in getting a chance to speak to her on the podcast. So we spoke about a lot of things. We spoke about her journey in film and in theater. And obviously, you know, with me, I'm going to talk about representation. So she spoke about colored representation, and
It's
I only speak of like what she saw and how that influenced what she brings onto the screen.
Yeah.
And then, and like her favorite films and series. And it was just a really lovely chat. And she's really influential, but also inspiring, and a great person whose work like people should watch and get to know. So Skemer Dance will be coming out in April on Showmax, and it's about like she explains more in the episode, but it's like more like a gangsterism type show set in like the nightclub scene in Cape Town.
Galaxy.
But she like so it's filmed at Galaxy, and she says like, you know, there's like the Cape Town, the nightlife of Cape Town that like the tourists know, and the nightlife that the locals know, and like we know that. And it's
I love it.
And then Barakat is more of a light-hearted film, which is about like obviously around like Muslim culture and that sort of thing, and it's very much like a family film.
And you've seen it?
Family film. I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, okay.
Family about the film about the family. Family about the film about the family.
Yeah.
So so here's our interview with Amy. So have you been, like, how has your 2020 been?
Good. It's been a long one. It feels very long. I'm glad to be getting to the end of it and wrapping up, but it's also been a very fulfilling year, I think.
Tell me more about you. Like, where did you grow up? What is your background?
So I'm from Cape Town. I'm born and based and bred in Cape Town. I grew up in Mitchell's Plain. I grew up in between Mitchell's Plain and Bishop Lavis. I think my family is also from Cape Town, so my roots are here. And I come to the arts and to film and TV via theatre, and studied theatre at a tertiary institution, and then kind of made my name and made my work with theatre, and then eventually ended up here. So I mean, my background is pretty much rooted in South Africa.
So did you always want to be a writer or to work in theatre?
I always wanted to be a storyteller of some sort. Yeah, I always wanted to be a journalist. I wanted to be I wanted to write novels for a while. I didn't have the patience for that. So I eventually ended up in theatre and in the arts. I think I always just wanted storytelling was my passion from the beginning.
So what would you say has been like your highlights for you personally in your career this far?
I think highlights has been getting to work with people that I've always looked up to. So getting to travel a lot. That's always been a fortunate part of my work, is that I don't have to always be in the country to do it. And I've had a lot of opportunities to travel and a lot of opportunities to see the world, and to have that influence my storytelling, and to have it influence my my films and the things I write. I think becoming a citizen of the world through my writing has been probably one of my biggest highlights.
So I wanted to ask you about the Ellen Paki story. So it was so beautiful and like such an emotional film. Like, what process did you go through in order to write it?
So a lot of that story was written with a lot of intense research and sitting with Ellen and being becoming a part of her life over the course of a year almost we spent with her. So I think having her as the first resource to write the film was probably the best thing that we could have had, because it allowed me to just get into her mind and it allowed me to get into her story as well. And yeah, it was quite it was a heartbreaking process, obviously, because I got to witness a lot of things that I had not been exposed to growing up, not firsthand. Like I'd heard a lot of stories about drug addiction and tech addiction, especially, but it was the first time that I, got to see a lot of those things with my own eyes. So yeah, it was an intense process, but necessary, necessary. I think for the way the film came out.
So what was what was Ellen like as a person?
I mean, I think what she has obviously learned a lot of lessons from that time in her life. It's been long enough for her to have processed and healed from a lot of the trauma. She is a motivational woman. She's very encouraging. She's very optimistic. She's got a great energy. And for someone who's been through such a hectic, traumatic experience in her life, she is surprisingly positive. And I think that's what really stuck out about getting to know her, that she's got a lightness and a joy to her.
So you said like during the research, like you had like experiencing people that have gone through drug addiction, have gone through like tech addiction in particular. So did you spend time with people who had gone through the journey, who had suffered from addiction?
I didn't so much spend time with people who were drug addicts. To focus for me of that story was about what the people who are having to look after and care for and love people who are addicted go through. Because I think we've had stories, many stories of the drug addict side of the story, but we haven't always seen what their family has had to go through. So yeah, it was more about spending time with the people who were affected by and listening to what those stories are, that I wanted to kind of key into.
Because okay, I'm like going like totally off tangent here, but me like in particular, I went to watch the film with my mom, and we my sibling went through drug addiction, tech in particular, and I think watching that and just seeing it is like seeing your story represented. Like we from Retreat, we right next to Lavender Hill. We, it was. I mean, even though this is a true story, it was amazing how it could represent so many different people, like almost like it was fiction.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a similarity to a lot of the experiences of growing up on the Cape Flats, for example, about how our families are structured. There's a similarity to sort of how we live in a shorthand. And then, of course, like the experience of having someone in your family who is a drug addict or who uses tech. I think that a lot of those stories were quite silent for a long time. Like people didn't know that other people had or were experiencing or suffering the same thing. And yeah, I think that's what was great about the film, is that it made people feel seen.
So, like going off that, so Soldat, I cried for that. Like I feel like this is like a common thread. Like I cried for everything that you wrote, but I mean,
Yeah.
but so what inspired the writing of that? Like it was so brilliantly, like I don't want to spoil it for anyone who's listening who watches it, but like the twist was so brilliantly done. Like I did not expect it. So what inspired the writing of that story?
So that was a short film that we did as part of the Silver Scadam Fest with my business partner, Ephraim Gordon. We have a company together. We study together. We have a very long history. We have been friends for 14 years now. So we started collaborating on wanting to tell, just to make a short film. And it originally started as kind of this idea of like a vendetta, like how long can you hold on to a vendetta? How long will you wait for revenge? but also like about how young boys get co-opted into gang life, into becoming sort of the hands and the feet for gang bosses because they're around. So you know, this the idea of a soldat is this like these two young boys who just on a day get pulled into this gangster's orbit, and he just wants them to just do a quick little job for him, just because they happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, and that those things have consequences that like ripple across their lives, really. So yeah, I think it just came about because we wanted to tell a satisfying and contained story.
It was brilliant, definitely.
Thank you so much for watching it.
No, oh my gosh, I loved it. I showed it to everyone. I'm like, this is such an I just, it feels so authentic, and it feels like it's such a good story, obviously, but like it also feels so, I mean, I was saying, like, I know that this is what so many kids go through, and we see the news all the time, and it's so lovely to see it, them being represented. They're not just like headlines; they are actual people. When he was crying, and he was like, "Get up," and I was like,
Yeah,
"Oh my
yeah,
gosh! Oh no! Oh no!"
yeah. No, those were lovely young actors as well, and it was one of their first times acting, and the other one had only done one project before, so it was really lovely to work with actors who were quite easy and natural.
Yeah, definitely natural. Like, you could tell me that I was watching footage of like children running around here, and I would be like, shocked. I get it. I get it. I know.
Yeah, yeah,
I know these children. I see them all the time running outside playing this
yeah,
and
yeah,
that.
yeah.
So let's talk about Barakat. Like, tell me about Barakat. I mean, it's obviously coming out next year. Yeah. So tell us what the film is about and what inspired it.
So Barakat is a story of a Muslim family who get together over Lebaran weekend. It's a story of four sons, four boys who have lost their father, and they haven't really dealt with the grief of losing their father. And 3 years later, their mother comes to them and says she wants to remarry. She's fallen in love in her later years, and now she's bringing a new man into the home. And it's the brothers getting together over this weekend, which happens to be Labarang weekend, to sabotage their mother's love life, and in the process learn a lot more about each other and about their family, and also deal with the loss of their dad, which they haven't really thought about. And yeah, it's a story that celebrates family and culture. It's the first Afrikaans Muslim film from South Africa, which is, I think, great for me. That was my first film. It's my first film as a director. I haven't directed a feature before, and Ephraim Gordon, who again I have my company with, it's his first film that he's produced. So yeah, we're really excited about it. It releases in May next year, and it's had some like really good festival traction, and has connected with a lot of audiences across the world already. So we're very excited to bring it home.
So what is your experience like directing? Like, how did you enjoy like your first feature film?
I think directing is not as fun for me as writing. Directing is a lot of work and like a lot of responsibility. I think to be responsible for an entire vision of a story. But what I really enjoyed was working with an incredible crew, incredible actors, and the collaborative part of it. Like sometimes writing can be quite lonely, and you're sitting in like your little room, and you're trying to generate stuff for yourself. But what's great about directing is that every day you step on set and you have lots of people to bounce off of, lots of different energies to feed off of, and you're telling a story with other people. And that's the part I think I really enjoyed, even though it's a lot of hard work. Like I have to work very hard when I'm directing, whereas sometimes I don't feel like I have to work that hard when I'm writing.
So Skimmer Dance. I'm so excited. So what can you tell us about that?
So Skimmer Dance is a story set on the Cape Flats. It's a neo-noir thriller. It's set in the world of nightclubs, and it follows a family who own a nightclub. on Voortrekker Road, and the nightclub is under the grip of this crime syndicate who want to sort of turn it into one of the make it part of their criminal network. And it's this family fighting back against the kind of darkness that's overtaking their legacy. But it's also about the legacy of a family. It's about power struggles. It's very far away from Barakat, because Barakat is warm and fluffy and emotional, and this is a lot more nail-biting and gritty and darker. And yeah, I think it's coming to Showmax in April next year, and it's a chance for us to just explore a different side of our storytelling.
So you guys filmed at Galaxy,
Yeah.
I don't think you're any more part of the culture than filming at Galaxy.
No. I mean, a lot of people obviously grew up within Galaxy and West End, and a lot of people have their early their early teenage and young adult lives at Galaxy, and a lot of our parents and even my grandmother went to Galaxy because that club's been around since the early 70s. So yeah, I think it was really exciting and iconic to be within that space, because the walls have stories in that you don't have to add anything more when you get there. It's the place is already so alive.
And what inspired the story about the family and that sort of thing?
I think it was just that music, a certain kind of music is such an iconic part of Cape Flats. Growing up in the Cape Flats, it's like that nightlife kind of music. It's jazz, it's Cape jazz particularly. We wanted to showcase that music and that sound. And I think it was just inspired by nightlife in Cape Town, but not just not the tourist side of the nightlife, but the nightlife, if you're a local, the nightlife, if you're a regular who go and frequent these establishments. So and like I said, it's just was trying to tell a story that was not the usual ones that we were known for telling. We didn't want to do another soft family comedy or drama. We wanted to do something that had a little bit of edge.
So with regards to colored representation in the media, so how important do you think it is for us to move away from being just the butt of a joke, that there's more authentic stories about us being told? How important do you think that is?
Yeah, I think that's been a part of our mission statement as a company from the beginning, and a part of my mission statement as a writer and a creator and a storyteller, that I didn't want to just give a sort of stereotyped version of my culture and my people, and that yes, we are often comedy or comic relief, or it's about making fun of what we sound like, or putting on a stereotyped face. I always wanted to have representations that were a little bit more nuanced and a little bit more complex, and to show our humanity and to show the detail of our lives. I think it's very important for especially young colored people to grow up and see that there are multiple ways to live, and to see themselves represented, whether they're middle class, whether they're from the Cape Flats, whether they're Afrikaans speaking, English speaking, whether they're Muslim, whether they come from a Christian household. I think all of those representations are valid when it comes to whatever the colored experience is. And yeah, I think it's important for us to show that in as many ways as we can in the media.
And when you were growing up, what is your experience with seeing colored culture represented on TV and film?
I think for a while growing up, not a lot. I think I tended to see more of people who looked like me in sort of American sitcoms. So it's growing up and seeing the Black American sitcoms on television, and seeing, okay, cool, there's people somewhere else in the world that looks like me. And then of course there's watching in later years, early 90s and stuff, there was a string of really great television sitcoms again, like Fishy Fashions and those kind of things, where I'm okay, I see the start of a kind of a representation of what my people look and sound like, but it was still very broad. It was still kind of using us again as comic relief. I think in the last like 10 years or so, there's been this like a great wave of colored films coming from Cape Town, coming from South Africa, that shows that started to show our experience, or at least started to show how complex we are as people. And again, those stories are the violent stories often, because that's kind of, we need to get that out of our system first, like the difficult stories. So yeah, I think here, growing up, I didn't have a lot of things to hook onto. I guess I didn't see myself and my community represented as holistically as I wish I did.
Okay. So why did you decide to start, like, I think you've spoken about this a bit before, but more specifically, why did you decide to start Paper Jet Films and, your guys' vision around that?
So Paper Jet Films was started because we wanted to make great content that we could own. Like, I think it's quite important for young Black people to own the things they make. We didn't want to make things and hand over our ideas and give over our ideas. We wanted to contain ownership of our stuff, and the only way to do that is to produce and be the creator. So it's not just to write for other people's projects or to direct for other people's projects, but to actually be your own producer, so that you have control over what you create from beginning to end. So that was kind of one of the first missions that we were on. And then, of course, we wanted to open doors for ourselves so that we could open doors for other people. We wanted to open up the industry. We felt like there was not enough voices like ours in the industry. And it's not because for lack of trying, but because often people didn't know how to get into the television and film industry. So we wanted to figure out, how do you crack it, and then how do you keep the door open behind you and help other young creatives, especially people of color, to access the industry. So that's been like a big mission statement for Paperjet, is to consistently be hiring new talent, to consistently be working with young voices, to consistently be developing new stories, giving a first shot to a lot of creatives, whether that means that, like on Barakat, most of our HODs, our heads of department, were people who had never been HODs before. They had always been assistants, or they had always been interns, or part of a larger team, but they'd never been able to head a team before. And it was important for us that we gave people who were people of color their first chance to be in charge of a department on our projects. So yeah, that's kind of part of what Paperjet stands for.
Like, navigating the film industry in South Africa is a real struggle. Number one, obviously, because going to film school is a privilege that a lot of people can't afford. And number two, like, if you don't go, you don't have a network of people that you can contact or like you can rely on. So what advice do you have for like aspiring filmmakers, aspiring writers, editors, those people who would like to work in the industry but don't really know how to find a way?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't study film myself. I studied theater, and it might feel like it is in the same sort of orbit, but it is quite, the networks are very different. So I only came to film myself about 5 or 6 years ago and started building my contacts and my networks almost from scratch, because I didn't know anyone in the film industry. I came from a very different medium. I think the first thing is always to find your people, like to find your team. So you really can't do this thing alone. And I don't think you're going to crack it alone. You have to surround yourself with people. Whether that means you find one other collaborator and it's just you and that person, one other person to bounce off of, one other person who shares your vision, one other person who's also at the same stage of their career as you are. Find your like peers, because I think, that's the family that becomes your family that you grow up with in the industry. So yeah, I think that's been especially important for me. Don't try to do it alone. And then once you find your other person or your group of people or your group of friends, just start making, start doing. That's what a lot of these great companies who started small and started young did. They found their friends and then they started making their stuff. And you can do it now in so many ways. Like, you don't need professional equipment. You don't need, like, YouTube is free, phones are free, editing software is free. You can find all of these things and, make stuff continually. Be working on your craft while you're waiting for something to happen.
Okay. So, with regards to you, like, if you could work with anybody, who would you love to work with? Like,
Oh man, I've got a very long list. I think most of the people that I really look up to locally that I haven't had like a chance to work with, that I really love their work is like people like Yellowbone Entertainment, Jamil Kobek and Leila Swat. They make incredible movies. I really look up to them, and I love their work, and one day I would love a shot at working with them. Um, I um, I always really love the guys at Gambit Films, Nasipo Demisa, and Darren Joshua. They were one of my first kind of supporters as a company, and I haven't had a chance to work with Nasipo yet, and I'd really love that one day. So yeah, I think I've got such a big list. I can't think of everyone now off the top of my head, but I really look up to some amazing local filmmakers. The guys at Kate Panzacher and Elias Ribeiro, they're also South African producers whose film was just nominated for shortlisted for a Golden Globe. They filmed This Is Not a Burial. So they're producers that I really look up to, and I love the kind of work that they make, and I'd love one day to have an opportunity to work with them. So yeah, it's great to be inspired by people who are around you in the industry. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not necessarily looking overseas and being like, oh, there's this, I want to work with Leonardo DiCaprio or whoever. Like, I think it's more important for me to aspire to work with people who are here within reach and are some of the best talent that we have in the world, I think.
do you think the South African film industry is going through like a boom right now? Because it feels like a lot of great content is being made, and like
it is. And I think what's really exciting is that the world is looking to us for stories now. Like, I think Africa is on the map in a big way, and hopefully it's not just the trend, but the trend is towards Africa. So a lot of eyes are looking here. People want to film here, but they also want to tell our stories. And a lot of our stories now are hot, overseas, and things set in South Africa and coming from South Africa is hot. So I'm really excited by that, because it's given a lot of South African creatives an opportunity to have them to put themselves on the international stage, and to have their voices heard outside of the country. So yeah, I think we are going through a boom, and that's really exciting when you're a filmmaker.
Do you think that the streaming services has anything to do with like how, like, it feels like the industry is also opening up a lot more? Like, there's not a lot of the same things that we used to seeing, which I think was a problem for the last couple of years, is that it just everything felt the same. But do you think that because we have more streaming services that are investing in the country, there's more opportunity for people?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what streaming services does is make storytelling accessible to everyone. So, with the fact that you can access it from anywhere means previously they might not have had an African audience, and now they do, because people now have Netflix here, and what they want when they tune in is not always what's going on in America or what's going on in the UK. Sometimes they want to watch stories from where they are. And that's given us as African storytellers a lot of scope. Obviously, the more competition enters the market, the better for us, because the more buyers there are. So the fact that there's been so many streaming services recently that have taken flight. So you've got like Netflix here, of course, but then there's also Showmax, and there's lots of streaming services now competing for eyeballs, and that means they need more content.
Yeah,
which is really great news for creators. And I think, it's just that the world is moving in a global direction. Like, the streaming services have really disrupted the industry. So not everything needs to come from the same place, and eyeballs are going global, which is great. And people now want to see stuff that they're not used to seeing.
Yeah.
So that's exciting for us because there's so many untapped stories here.
That's so true. And it's also like it just opened it up to more authentic stories because I think the problem that a lot of people have been like saying about the South African entertainment industry is that it feels like they're just working with the same producers and creating similar content over and over because they know it works. But now because they need more content, they're more likely to take a chance on new and upcoming filmmakers, which is, which really does make things better for everyone else. I don't know where my question
Exactly.
was
It's no, I mean, I think you're right. It's very exciting that that people are being forced to diversify and that they're being forced to look outside of the same bubbles. Of course, you're always going to have certain channels or broadcasters or networks that are always going to be hiring the same people over and over. But I think there are opportunities now to take chances on new and undiscovered voices. That's really exciting.
So, what filmmakers are you inspired by, like in general?
Sure. I'm Wong Kar-wai is one of my favorite filmmakers. I'm like just thinking of Bong Joon-ho. I love Asian cinema. I watch a lot of kind of international cinema. I like I said here, Jamil Kubeka in South Africa. I'm trying to think of the last kind of films. I'm watching a lot of TV at the moment. I really love Ryan Murphy shows. My tastes are very eclectic. Like I try not to like box myself in as like a purist. Like, oh, I only watch these kind of films. I try to watch everything from like highbrow stuff to like very lowbrow stuff. So I love watching reality TV, and I am not ashamed of it. I really love terrible reality TV.
Like what?
And then, I mean, everything from the Kardashians. I'm a big fan. Paradise Island, The Bachelor. Like I'm into that kind of stuff. The cooking shows, the Master Chefs, the British Bake Off. Like that kind of entertainment that is entertaining. Like that relaxes me. But at the same time, I do like watching. In the Mood for Love, or like Heat, or like Noir, or like old school, like that kind of thing. So my tastes kind of vary, and depending on the state of mind I'm in, or even what I'm writing, I like to change up what's on rotation for my films and my music and my books.
So, like for example, when you do like skimmer dance, are you watching a lot of noir? Are you listening to?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm listening to what was I listening to? Inspiration for the soundtrack. So a lot of soundtracks for Drive. I'm watching a lot of like Nicholas Winding Refn films when I'm like Neon Demon and Drive when I'm doing that show. I'm reading actually a lot of Dion Mayer because there's a size could a kind of I'm preparing for another project, but there's also a kind of noir element to his writing, especially South African kind of noir element. I was listening to a lot of Herbie Hancock because he's kind of got that 70s feel that we were trying to capture in the look and feel of Skema dance as well. That's like a retro element to his music. So Skema dance gave me a lot of diverse influences, which was great.
Okay. So can you tell us about I read in your bio about the work you do with the Women's Playwright International and the African Women's Playwright. How important is it for you to empower other women in writing?
I think that's always been like a part of my mission that goes hand in hand with my work. The moment I was in a position, and it came from being in academia, and it came from when I was teaching at UCT and I was a lecturer, where a lot of your work is about mentorship and training and working to open the door for people who are coming behind you in a way. I guess that's what you're doing as a teacher all the time. So a lot of that I guess the more activist or mentorship side of my work started when I was a lecturer. And yeah, I think for me, it's I've always felt an obligation to empower and to connect women, especially because I guess it's something that's been very near to my heart, is to give space to women voices, space that's not often created or given. And yeah, the African Women Playwrights Network, which I was a co-founder of, was really to showcase and be a platform for young African women playwrights.
Because I mean, I'm obviously talking from like my very limited experience, but from seeing work in South Africa, until now recently, we haven't seen a lot of work by like women of color, so colored and black women in South Africa, and like, just do you think that they don't have it, like it's an empowerment thing, or do you think that there's just people aren't giving them chances? Why do you think that is?
I mean, it's half of it for me is like an accessibility thing. Like people don't necessarily know how to get into whether they're mainstream spaces, whether they're theaters, whether it's tapping into the film industry. So a lot of it is like not knowing where the gates are. And then I think the other part of it is not being young talent not being seen early enough and being recognized and being seeded and being allowed to blossom. So it's that people are not looking at a young voice or looking at a young storyteller or a short story and saying, this is a great voice, I need to nurture it, or I should get in touch with this person and give them an opportunity, or here's something worth listening to. So yeah, sometimes for me it's a problem of not being seen, or people not keeping their ear to the ground, and sometimes it's a problem of access, where those storytellers and those writers actually are out there. They just don't know how to get through.
Okay. So I want to ask you, so what is your all-time favorite series, of all time?
Without hesitation, it's The Wire. The Wire is the best, for me, the best television ever written. From beginning to end, I try and watch The Wire at least once a year, the entire series.
See that influence in your work.
Yeah, I really, that's amazing. But also, I think David Simon is a genius. And I think that series just is a great illustration of the way he managed to marry social issues with great drama, with amazing characters, with very gripping plots. It's got, for me, all the ingredients of perfect television, really.
Yeah. So how would you describe perfect television?
I mean, it's a marriage of craft and pace. So be entertaining, but also be a master of the technical side of your craft. So yeah, that's I think what happens in The Wire.
So what did you say is your all-time favorite film?
It's In the Mood for Love. Wong Kar-wai's In the Mood for Love, which is when did In the Mood for Love come out? Sure, I'm gonna lie now if I say what year it was. But it's quite an old film and beautiful because there's so much silence in it. It's just the love affair that can never be realized between two people, and they just have these very long, lingering silences where they just they're yearning for each other, but they can never connect. And my most recent favorite film is probably Parasite, Bong Joon-ho's Parasite, which blew my mind. Yeah.
Brilliant. So, okay, this is the question we ask everyone, but who is your first celebrity crush?
Wow. First celebrity crush. Let me think. I have to think very hard. I'm upset to say it's probably, it's Macaulay Culkin. I know that. It's Macaulay Culkin. Fell in love with Macaulay Culkin when I watched My Girl, which is the first film I watched in the cinema. It's the first time my parents took me to the cinema. And that's the first ever movie I watched. And I saw Macaulay Culkin and I was like, damn. I was in love with him for 10 years.
But and how much did you cry in that scene where she like with the glasses? She's like, you can't see.
Yes, where he gets stung by bees. I mean, it was heartbreaking, and it was devastating for, I don't know how old I was at the time. Like what? I don't know, like 10 years old,
It's like a
8 years old.
very hectic movie for your first movie.
Yes, it is. It's quite brutal and emotional, but yeah, I've always had a soft spot for that movie, and obviously for the actors.
Okay, thank you so much, Amy. This has
Thank you
been
so much.
amazing.
It was lovely to talk to you, and thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, I was very keen to chat to you. I was like when I heard about when I spoke to Kevin, I was like, Kevin, I need to talk to Amy. Like, please.
Thank you. Well,
But yeah,
thanks so much. I look forward to listening.
Yeah, thank you so much for the work you're doing. Like really, I can't even express how amazing it is seeing like a colored girl, number one, doing this,
Thank
writing
you.
this amazing content and representing us so brilliantly. But yeah, thank you so much. So that was our interview with Amy Jephta. You can find her at The Brave Girl on Twitter. And of course, links to everything we discussed will be in the show notes. So before we head out for these 2 weeks, Rebecca, what have you been crashing on?
I've been crashing on Community. I started watching. Yeah, it is. I forgot how well it is written. Like it's comedy that will last for a long time, I think. And the friendship between Troy and Abed, gets me every single time.
I remember watching like the first time I watched it and waiting for the end of the episode just to see what like nonsense they're gonna catch on at the end. Just like when you don't know what's coming. Like when you're watching it, like when you're rewatching it, you're like, oh yeah, you know, like sort of what kind of like skits they're gonna do at the end.
Yeah.
But their morning show and
oh my gosh,
in the morning. What I loved about Community, I still think it's like my favorite sitcom ever. It's that like it always felt like they were experimenting. They were like trying something new. Like this episode they're in stop motion. This episode they're in a game.
Yeah.
This episode they're doing something else. The paintball ones were the best, and all the little side characters. Oh my gosh, a sitcom that has good like random side characters.
Oh, definitely. Like Moby, the Moby looking one, the Dean.
The Dean.
Yeah.
And I like Starburns. And
Starburns is the most, surprisingly enough, Starburns is like the most together character in the entire series.
and what's it always named, Lenny or something? It's like a bit of a bully. It always has a backpack on.
Okay, no, I haven't gotten that far again. So I'm only done with season 1. Or on season 1 now.
Yeah, no, okay. But when you get to Lenny, oh my gosh.
Oh gosh.
I laugh every time. Like I don't know why, but I laugh. So I'm like super into this love triangle.
Okay.
Driver's license love triangle. I don't know if you heard about this.
I'm feeling so old just by you saying this. Like I should know what this is.
I felt old.
Okay.
So there's this new series on Disney Channel or Plus or one of those things called High School Musical, the series.
No. Wait. This is too much information.
High School Musical, the musical, the series.
Okay.
I sound like I'm like scripted, but I'm not. Anyway, so there's this new show called whatever High School Musical. In the show, it's at the school, and the school is putting on High School Musical, the musical.
Okay.
And that's what the story is about, basically.
Okay. I'm
so
not
it's like
gonna lie, this is...
Is it confusing you?
Not confusing me. It sounds like a lot of waste of life, but please tell me why I should be watching this.
Oh, I don't know. I haven't seen it either.
Oh.
That's the point. Although I had heard that some people said they enjoyed it. So I was wanting to watch it, but I just haven't had a chance. And plus on Disney Plus, which isn't available in South Africa, which really sucks. Anyway, so basically this girl, her name is Olivia Rodriguez. She plays the main character in the show. I think her name is Nini or something. And she released a song called Driver's License. And it's all about her driving around this neighborhood about this guy that like she was had this relationship with, but like she drives
Huh.
past this neighborhood and then she gets sad. But here's the thing: I listened to the song and I was like, I don't know what went over me. I don't know what neighborhood I ended up in my head, but I became obsessed. And I listened to the
Oh.
song like over and over again, and it's really sad. And I was like shedding tears. I was just feeling this emotion. And then the song was like number one. Like lots of people were apparently listening to it, and like the record company itself was like shocked, like why is the song doing so well?
Uh-huh.
Anyway, comes out that people suspected that the song was about her co-star in the show, who she also sort of like people thought that the two of them had a romance and like they had broken up,
Uh,
blah. And then and in the song she mentions, yes, you with this blonde girl that's older than me. And then people are like, oh my word, he's always in TikToks with this other girl, Sabrina
oh
Carpenter,
my
who was
goodness.
in Girl Meets World, the spin-off of Boy Meets World.
Oh, cool.
I actually really that was a cool show. I really like that. But but anyway, so Sabrina's 21, Olivia's 17. Then he released a song, which people say is written before the thing. But then Sabrina released a song called Skin. And then she's like,
Whoa.
now maybe you didn't think about the words that you wrote. And it was like a diss track, but it was also kind of like a jam. I
Uh,
mean, I'm really into teen pop music. And
clearly.
and now and now it's like, but what's going on? Are Olivia, are Sabrina and the guy, I can't remember what the guy's name is.
Yeah.
Are the two of them together? Did he cheat on her? What happened? So
Hectic.
I'm very invested in this love triangle.
I can
But
see
like
so.
a lot of my friend Tyler said that she thinks that they're just milking it now
Yeah.
because the first girl song wasn't like a diss track. It was just like about her feelings.
Mm,
And then the other one was like it was very much targeted at the girl.
yeah.
So
Huh.
it's so I'm very curious as to what is going on here
This is
with this
Disney's. Could you
High
tell me
School
the name again? High School
High School
Musical, the musical, the
the musical,
musical,
the
the
series.
musical, the musical, the CDs. How many of the
Yes,
music? Okay. I need to, on that note, actually, when it comes to music for youngsters that you
mm.
actually get excited about. I was listening to this jam the other day, and I was like, it was a Spotify generated playlist,
Oh,
and I was like, Who is this lovely singer? And this is such a great song. I'm freaking in love with it. And I looked to my left, and it was Willow by Taylor Swift. And I was like, I needed to tell. I need to tell Kat about this.
told you.
It's happening.
Amount of time. I've
I'm
been
telling
waiting.
you. I didn't expect it. But yeah, just that's my little music snippet.
Ugh, love it. I love it. I love this journey for you.
Thank you.
I look forward to see where you end up.
I will keep you apprised in
Which
the
era
loop.
is your favorite?
Of course.
So for me, what I've been crashing on,
Yeah.
um, so I don't know if you've seen Euphoria. Have you seen Euphoria?
Mm-mm.
It's like this
No.
drama series was Zendaya in it, but they've been releasing these special episodes. So they were supposed to start filming season 2 last year, but because of COVID, they couldn't film. So they had these two like special episodes focusing on like singular characters to bridge season 1 and season 2.
Okay.
And see, the first episode came out in December, and it was about Zendaya's character Rue, and she's talking to her like her sponsor about
Mm.
like sobriety and like and addiction and that sort of thing. And it was just such a brilliant episode, the way it was shot, the acting, like the script, the like the emotions that came
Mm.
through. And then the second episode, which came up this weekend, was about the character Jules. And it's sort of like her journey, and there's a lot we don't learn about her in the first season. And the first season came out in 2019,
Oh,
but it's
wow.
such a good show that it's like it hasn't gone out of like conversation. People are still talking about it.
Yeah.
Zendaya won a Emmy like last year for it, and like it's such a good show. And the second part just fills in a lot of gaps that we didn't see in season 1,
Mm.
but also it just told the story of this girl and the struggles that she's going through in a relationship with her mother, and she's just talking to a therapist in a relationship with Rue, and like and her femininity and how and how she framed her womanhood around men and how she's trying to change that. And
Oh
it's just
wow.
written beautifully, and the acting is so well done. And oh, like I can never forget how much I love the show. It's like a teen drama, and
Mm,
it gets a lot of criticism because it's very sexualized, and
mm.
there's a lot of drugs and that sort of stuff in it. And a lot of people think that it's like glamorizing it, but it's a very good show, and like I think so. I think it's just brilliantly written, directed. Even the makeup is like, and it's very much Gen Z, and it's very much written for Gen Z and about
Yeah.
Gen Z, and yeah. So anyway, I'm been really crashing on the second special of Euphoria.
Okay.
So yeah, that's all from us. Me you can find at Karen Walby on Instagram, at Karen Walbies with an S on Twitter, and sign up for my newsletter, Wild Streams, at wildstreams.substack.com. Rebecca?
You can catch me on Duolingo at Rebecca ZA. Or just like send me an email or something, man.
Email us at crushingonpod@gmail.com. You can also follow us on YouTube at What's IGN Crushing On. And guys, please don't forget to tag us on Instagram when you listen to the podcast. Just do a little share to Instagram story and tag at Crushing On Pod. Like, it really helps to bring to get our name out and stuffs. Yeah.
The podcast can be found at Crushing On Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. You can find more information about this and all our other episodes at our website, crushingonpodcast.com, and send any feedback to crushingonpod@gmail.com. Join our Facebook group, Crushing On Club, where we chat about the show, celebrity news, recommendations, the whole shebang. Let us know what you think about what was discussed in this week's episode by sending us a voice note or email to crushingonpod@gmail.com. The show is produced by me, Karen, and Rebecca Barches. The show is edited and engineered by Rebecca Barches. Our logo was designed by Nathifa Maroof. And the show was created in partnership with IGN Africa. If you like the show, tell everyone that you can any way that you can. Keep up to date with all our episodes by subscribing to the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. And please rate and review the episodes on Apple Podcasts, as it helps others find the show. We'll be back with another in-depth conversation with a pop culture lover. See you then!
Then I see that little owl calling me.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Oh, that owl.
and I feel so
Sis, that
guilty. And it's like, when you kept your library books for too long, and you're scared to go back because you don't want to deal with it. So it's kind
Yeah,
of,
and then the auntie's gonna look at you like, oh, you're the girl that had this book.
so I took out library books in 2009, and and quite a few. And then obviously they sent me letters.
Wait, are you telling me you still have them?
No, wait. They sent me letters and like phone calls.
That's
and
nice.
stuff.
Oh,
Anyway,
that's nice.
they bring
Up
up
to
back
date
our
with
books.
you.
Bring back our books. And then after a while, they just stopped. They just knew it was a lost cause. So the problem is that these ladies are so scary at the library. And I'm not going to tell you which library it is, Tukai Library. But they were so scary that my books were like a week late or a day late, and I was too nervous to take it back. So I just kept it for years. And then
that seems
so I
like
just
a
kept
good
on being
solution.
scared.
Wow.
And then and then it went on for years and years, and the guilt was still there. And once I went there for like a book launch, and I was nervous that they would like recognize me, even though it'd been like 10 years or so.
Oh no, you're probably on like one of their wanted posters.
Yeah, that's what I
No.
thought.
Oh, okay. I thought you were gonna say, yeah, I was.
And then last year during Free Library Week, my mom went and took them back, and then said like, oh, my daughter moved out, because this was a story that she made up years ago as to how she's going to take the library books back. And I found these books, but last year I actually had moved out, so she could tell it truthfully
without lying. Yeah.
And then she was like, oh, my daughter moved out, and these are her books and whatever. So the books are back at the library.
Good. The wanted poster's still up.
And I was reading Talia Goldberg, former guest, and used it today, and she was talking about going to Sea Point Library, and I was like, maybe I should go back to the library to now for my name. And I was like, no, let's not tempt. Let's not tempt.